Hi everyone, no news today, so let's get straight into the data. Do me a quick favor and like and subscribe and watch the video till the end to help out the channel, and let's get started. So fear and greed stepped into fear here at a 38. Previous read was a 43, pretty big dip there. Again, timeline continuing to trend lower. We've seen lower peaks on each of these. This is officially lower than the mark we saw on 4 June as well, but with momentum still hanging out in extreme greed. Pretty interesting there, basically at all-time highs. And then we have strength and breadth still in extreme fear. Pretty interesting there as well. Put call ratio still extreme greed. Volatility neutral. Slight step higher there. And then safe haven demand and junk bond demand both in extreme fear. So extremely mixed markets. We have the NASDAQ going higher here today while we are seeing extreme greed on multiple indicators and fear overall. Moving over to seasonality, you can see this is supposed to be a bearish period. We really haven't seen too much of that. We've had a lot of bullish catalysts, but I do think some of that weakness is coming in the second half of the month, which is correct seasonally, but keep in mind that we really haven't seen this kind of choppiness that we were expecting early in the month. Moving over to the economic calendar, there wasn't a ton on here for today. U.S. exports and imports suffered a lot, continuing to see some economic weakness there. And then looking at the inflation data, Michigan data coming in higher than expected. That wasn't great. Consumer sentiment coming in lower than expectations. So Michigan University saying there is some weakness in markets, but we really haven't seen that too much yet. Moving over to Max Pain. Max Pain was 536, ended up at 542, so right at the top of the puts. So pretty much at the top of the puts here. Not above these massive call walls at 550, 545, still finished below those. Even 543 finished about 40 cents below that, so makes sense right in the middle here of the puts and the calls. Put call ratio was very high at 3.55, so we didn't expect any bearishness this week. We'll take a look at this for next week on the Sunday video. Moving over to the charts, starting off with the S&Ps here, you can see we dipped early in the pre-market, hit the 55 EMA, bounced right back to the middle of the range on this consolidation. Didn't get up to the upper level, 544. Did make a new wick low on that move. Got well below my level, 540.34. But momentum still hanging in there, RSI still hanging in there. And it was a positive day, 0.06. Moving over to the Tasty charts, you can see that consolidation. Upper ATR continues to trend higher there at 545.81. Didn't get anywhere near that. We're still right on top of that 8 EMA. Didn't quite hit the mid-range there on that wick low. And right now that's sitting around that 539.20 area. Momentum fading, not a ton of volume going into the end of the week. And we'll see if this can hang in there going into next week's chop. Moving over to the NASDAQ, this continued to break higher, closed at a new high for the day, 0.5% higher for a new all-time high. High of day was 479.26. And then we're going a little bit higher after hours. So closed above the highs, closed above the trend line. Everything still looks bullish. Still super high on that RSI at a 78.63. But we're not getting that same kind of consolidation. You can see a double bottom here around 475.29. And now we're breaking back to new highs. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow, you can see the Russell is hanging in there right at that 144 EMA, 198.51. Closed basically on the level, 198.75. Momentum's bearish, RSI is bearish, but this is a critical zone. I do think it might hold. We gapped right to the low from this previous candle. Still didn't close below it. So this zone needs to hold if it's going to. If this area breaks, we're probably headed back to 195 or potentially the 200 down in that 192 area. So critical zone here for the Russell going into the Monday. And then the Dow. Big wick low, new low of day was at 383.63, and then we rallied all the way back to finish almost unchanged at down 0.11%. Momentum bearish, RSI bearish, but this is interesting here. Held up pretty well, just a very slight dip low, significantly better than what we saw on the Russell, which was down 1.59%. Moving over to stocks that moved, we got Adobe that was up 14.5%. It was up a little bit more than that, gave just a smidgen back. This has been on a downtrend. Still think it's probably going to hit that 200 at 544.28, but this is on earnings, big catalyst, so you would expect a change of trend off of this move. Doesn't mean it's not going to give some of this back, but it does look very good there. And then looking at Broadcom, this also had earnings a couple of days ago. It's hitting this trend line here. Forgot to extend that out on the previous time we talked about this, but hit the low here, marks a consolidation. Really, it's just the parallel of this top line, which also marks a top here. So throw that parallel line in on the bottom. Hit that trend, so very important trend there that's acting as resistance right now. Touched it again here today. If it breaks higher, Who knows where we're headed? Potentially towards 2000 on Broadcom. They do have a stock split coming, so that's a catalyst for them, but both of these having massive days here today. Moving over to the Mag 7, basically flat here today, down 0.08. Momentum, seeing that first step towards bearish. Interesting. RSI also stepping down ever so slightly. Still super overbought, so this is your resistance right now at 265.08. Seems like we're getting a little bit of a rejection, at least to that 9 EMA down at 256.09. Moving over to Apple and Microsoft. Apple finally giving back some gains here, 0.82 to the downside, not a whole lot. Momentum still bullish, RSI breaking down just a little bit. Nothing crazy, probably a pullback in time for Apple. And then looking at Microsoft, slight positive, 0.22. Still looking at this to push to that next trend line up around 450. Momentum and RSI both bullish, really no change on that thesis. Moving over to staples and discretionaries, you can see a bit of a flip-flop here on these. Staples up 0.18, not super convincing. Momentum still bearish, RSI still struggling. And then you got discretionaries down 0.79, rejecting from that 180.10 level. I'm not going to be bullish here really until we can get above that and hold and start to push to 185. Still hasn't happened yet. The structure still indicates to me that we will be breaking out eventually, but I am being patient on discretionaries until we get that clear move. Moving over to breadth, we saw a big move. We saw a big move down on Thursday. You can see we wicked this level again, 36.60. Probably going to see this breakdown again here today. Momentum says we're still swinging to bullish, being patient on that move. RSI is above the SMA, so that's good. Touch the level, moving higher. RSI is getting into a pretty low level on this. The EMA here is getting it to a pretty low level. Typically doesn't get too much below that 36, 37 area, and we are down in the 40s now. So that's a pretty interesting indicator to watch, not just the RSI itself. So maybe we start to see a swing, but really not super convincing yet. And then similarly here on 50-day, really the same move on RSI, holding that level, still looks okay. We'll see how this plays going into the Monday session. Moving over to the dollar, this is the big concern. So this continues to be bullish. It did what we thought. We were going to hit the level 150.05. Want to see it hold above that level if it's going to do it on the bullish side. That is bearish for equities, so do keep that in mind. And right now it is doing it. So we're here, broke above on the hourly, testing it, 21 EMA right on top of the level, critical zone. Again, if this is going to hold, and it does, push above this in the Monday, Tuesday session, push up to that 106.8 area. That's absolutely going to be bearish for markets. So seems like the dollar has turned a corner, clear higher high versus this high here. And you could also argue low, higher low. So dollar looking bullish, headed towards that 106 area. Moving over to yields, 2-year and the 10-year. 2-year holding in there basically flat, still wicking this same area around that 4.7 area. And then looking at the 10-year, continues to break down, another new low here, getting very close to these lows from the end of March, down around that 4.18 area. Low of day here today was 4.19, so very, very close, right in that 4.2 area. Yields continue to taper off. You'd think this would be a little bit stronger for growth and the Russell 2000, but the Russell is really not participating. We have the dollar rallying, 10-year falling, so a little bit of mixed markets for sure. Moving over to bonds, J&K giving back some of those gains, down 0.4, still in the same range it's been in for several months at this point. Remember, we got here in the middle of December and we're still here in the middle of June, so we spent about a half a year in this area. Did dip low just for a moment, did wick some highs for a moment, but we're still in the range. And then TLT breaking out, gap higher and rally, falling a little bit after hours, but this is probably headed to that 96.50 area, right at this high from 7 March. Right now we're struggling from the highs from 28 March, but I think this is going to accelerate here and push to that 96.50 area in my opinion. Moving over to volatility, saw some pretty big spikes here to be honest. Move index going much, much higher. Momentum gaining, RSI breaking out, big move, still not above this previous high here from the beginning of June, but it does seem like it's headed a little bit higher. Similarly, VIX catching a bid, 5.86% to the upside. Momentum slightly bullish, RSI breaking back above the SMA. We saw this just a couple of days ago and then it broke back down, but trending higher, breaking higher, looks a little bit bullish there on the VIX. I thought we might see a swing here, push up to that 14.7 area. I still think that's going to happen. We'll see how that does over the next day or the next 1 or 2 trading days. This is probably going to go a little bit higher in my opinion as it comes off of that very low level around 1177. Moving over to my accounts, I was basically flat, down a little bit, $14 it looks like. Most of that was the IWM down 288. I rolled down on that account to 199. It is a little bit below that after hours, around 98.50. I'll just continue to roll this $1 day by day, hopefully to get this out of the money on the put side and then continue to collect on the call side. $62 profit there at 199. Collecting another 80 cents there on Monday. We'll see how that plays. IWM held in there a little bit at that 144. Need to see that hold. Otherwise, I'll be taking off all the bullish positions and watching that fall a little bit more if it breaks that level. And then the IWM, I forgot to roll out these puts. Collected max profit on those, 117, which was fine. In terms of structure, I should have rolled this out. It did look good. I should have rolled it again to the Monday session, but I just didn't. We'll see how that plays out. Maybe we give back those gains and get an opportunity to get in on the Monday session. But right now, I just have my covered call at 471 and my 200 shares for the Monday session. I might roll that out to the Wednesday, try to collect a little bit more on those shares, but we'll see. Not too bullish with just a 13 deltas, and it is at all-time highs, and there is some weakness across markets, so we'll see how it plays out. Right now, playing a little bit of defense on the IWM and being cautious on the Qs. Let me know down in the comment section what you think of the charts or the markets. Can we continue to hold this level and continue to break to new highs, or is the Russell a bit of a precursor, heading 1.5% to the downside, and the rest of the markets are going to follow over the next week or two? Definitely interesting to watch. Otherwise, like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video, and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.